Today it's back to African Dawa revival because he put out a video trying to get the attention of atheists and agnostics called "Listen, Atheists, Agnostics, you don't need to be certain to believe," which is a weird statement because I kind of think that should go without saying. But apparently this is something atheists and agnostics do believe, and that we need to be convinced to believe otherwise about for some reason. It's an intriguing topic, at least to me, so let's see what's going on.
Welcome guys. In this video, we're going to be talking about how the atheist can believe.
Oh, well, that's easy. You just make the atheist believe. Bring good arguments that outweigh any counter-arguments, and just like that, you're done. Nothing to it.
You, atheist guy,
That's what they call me.
or someone, a believer, you're having doubts about your belief, I'm going to show you how you can believe.
You want to show me how I can believe? What, if I choose to do so? Like, if one day I just wake up and decide, I feel like believing today. Thanks for the offer, but I think I'm good.
Even though you are not certain, you can believe.
Yeah, I know. Belief and the feeling of certainty are two completely different things. Why would I feel like I can only believe things with certainty?
Without certainty, you can believe, okay?
Okay, I agree. That's why I say that kind of thing all the time in my videos, in response to the endless waves of religious people who are somehow confused about this. But apparently you're not, so that's good. Is that it? Can I go?
So, a couple of days ago, I made a video about beliefs, okay, and knowledge.
I didn't watch it, but it sounds like you're about to summarize the key points, so I guess I don't have to.
The difference between absolute certain knowledge, necessary knowledge, and what we actually have, justifiable true belief.
So you understand that what we actually have that counts as knowledge is justified true belief, that certainty is kind of a pipe dream. You know, despite the fact that I disagree with you on just about everything, and that the couple of videos of yours that I've responded to before I found very strange and full of really odd, unjustifiable perspectives, I do like that overall you seem a little bit more clued in on these topics than a lot of the people I respond to. I gotta give credit where it's due.
I made that video and explained it, okay? But in this video, I'm going to talk about more specifically about beliefs. So the atheist asks this question: how can I just believe?
By becoming convinced that the claim is more likely true than not. Through any means. You heard a good argument, or you had a compelling dream last night. Whatever it is, it makes you start believing, and then you just believe.
How can I believe when I'm not sure?
The same way you believe anything else when you're not sure. I believe that if I get in my car right now and do the thing that makes it turn on, that the car will start. Am I sure it'll start? No. I've had times in the past where I believed it would start, and then I got in and it did not start. But I still believe it'll start. Why would I not believe that? The vast majority of the time, it does start. The balance of probability, as I understand it, is in favor of me being right.
That kind of thing, like, how can I just believe? That kind of thing. And I'm like, have you tried?
Tried to believe you? Well, I've listened to arguments from theists a lot and evaluated them to see if they made any sense. If that counts as trying to believe, then yes. But if what you mean instead is, have I tried to psychologically manipulate myself into believing? To exert willpower to try to push myself in that direction? No. No offense, but believing what you believe is not that important to me. Believing anything anyone believes is not that important to me. Me believing what you believe is important to you, not to me. Every random asshole out there believes hundreds of random things that I don't. I'm not interested. If some guy wants me to believe something, he can talk to me about it if I feel like taking the time, and if I find it compelling, cool. And that's it. Okay, I got stuff to do.
So you'd be like, what do you mean try? Is it that you believe or you don't? There's no trying.
Well, in most cases, that's largely true. I guess the only exception is if you intentionally put yourself through some sort of weird brainwashing program. Like, you're so desperate to believe something is true that you apply cult tactics to yourself to try to bypass your reasoning and just believe it without thinking about it. But even in that case, you're not just believing. You're still becoming convinced. It's a process. Now, of course, you're only gonna do that kind of thing if you already have some incredibly strong bias towards that position. Some really strong desire for it to be true, in which case you're already primed to believe it for no good reason in the first place, and you'll probably be convinced by some shit argument, because you won't be inclined to look closely at anything. If you look closely, that's just you taking away what you want, potentially showing yourself that what you desperately wish is true is not true, or at least not well justified. And if you're already in a state of mind where you're willing to shut your brain off in that way and accept anything, there's not really any need to engage in the self-brainwashing. You're most of the way there already. You're so close to the edge of the cliff, someone could blow on you and you'd fall off.
I'm going to tell you in this video, you can try to believe.
Sure. You can. I don't know why you would ever do that for anything. I can try to believe that the red traffic light is actually green so that I can drive through. I kind of doubt I'd actually be able to do it, certainly within the amount of time that I'm sitting at the traffic light. But either way, why would I do that? Why would I try to believe something that I don't think has a decent chance of being true? I don't want to believe things that are false. If the position is demonstrably likely true, then I'll become convinced when I see the evidence of that fact. Just naturally, I won't have to try. If I have to try to believe, if I have to try to will myself into belief, that means there's no good reason to believe it in the first place. At least not that's been presented to me. So that would mean I want to believe something that has no sign of being likely true. It would mean I don't care at all what's true. And yeah, some people don't, unfortunately. But I do, and I don't see why I wouldn't care about that. So I'm sorry, but I'm not going to try to willpower my way into believing something I don't think is true.
First of all, the first way you will know is that belief, what is belief itself?
Being convinced of the likely truth of a proposition.
Is usually levels of commitment, levels of trust, levels of certainty, or should I say probability. You are certain to a certain level.
Right, so that's basically the same as what I said. You assess the probability of something being true based on the information you have, and if your assessment is that it's likely to be true, then you believe it.
That kind of thing, like, it's not 100%. No one is 100% certain about anything.
See, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, right? You're definitely more plugged in than the typical person on this channel. You understand the point of what certainty means. You understand that certainty, not just in the sense of feeling certain, but in the sense of there being literally no way for you to be wrong ever, is an unattainable state. And this is very refreshing to hear, because I don't remember the last time I heard this while making these videos. I'm always the one who has to say it, but this time it's you saying it.
They can claim it, but they're not absolutely certain.
Yeah, well, if we want to get really finicky here, I would say being absolutely certain is just having the feeling. Certainty is more of a feeling than an actual relationship of your beliefs to reality. I would say you can be absolutely certain and wrong at the same time. I would say something more like they're not infallible. Even if they're certain, they're not certainly right.
And in fact, in their existence, their belief wanders up and down.
Oh, for sure. How confident you feel that what you believe is true will change over time, sure.
This shows you, like some people have strong belief, weak belief. Have you heard that kind of thing before? Strong belief, strong faith, weak faith. All of this shows you that people are not equal. And that means that all the believers, you will find different levels of them.
Oh, yeah. I've talked to lots of people who, if you use a bike as a metaphor for their belief, that bike was going along real smooth for a while, and then it started to wobble, and that wobbling got worse and worse until it finally fell over. But even when it was wobbling at its worst, it was still technically standing up.
And this shows you exactly my point, that belief is level of commitment, levels of conviction. How much are you... that kind of thing.
I have this experience when making videos that almost every video I ever respond to, I disagree with basically 100% of what's said. Maybe in some videos there'll be like one sentence where I'm like, okay, yeah, that's true. And the rest of it, I completely disagree with. A person can talk for 10 minutes and I won't agree with a single thing. And that's why I can keep putting these videos out over and over and over and know that no matter what happens, I'll always be able to find more. Because I have so many disagreements with the average theist that our entire worldview is different from the bottom up. Completely different structures built on mostly completely different foundations. But here I find myself agreeing with an awful lot of what's being said, which, considering how deeply and strongly I have disagreed with this guy in other videos, is a very interesting and unexpected experience.
Or you can endorse something. So if I say I believe in something, it can be that I endorse it. I accept it. I accept that proposition.
I don't really understand what you're trying to say with endorse, but yeah, you can say I accept that proposition because, again, that's just you being convinced that it's likely to be true. Saying I accept that proposition is just what you do. The belief part is the same. Saying I accept that proposition is just something that you do based on it. The nature of the belief itself is not different.
That can be what belief is.
Well, no, saying you accept a proposition cannot be what belief is. Because believing something is one thing you can do, and saying something is a different thing you can do. They're two different things, and therefore one cannot be the other. But I think I'm just not understanding what you're trying to say with that part, so let's just move on.
So So you as an atheist, you're having a problem because you're not sure, you're not 100% certain, you don't want to believe, that kind of thing. But you can.
Look, I don't know who said this to you, if anyone, or what exactly this person said, if anything. I looked on the video that you referred to at the start here to see if someone had commented something along these lines, and there are no comments. So I don't know who you're talking to with this. It seems a little bit like you're just talking to some fictional atheist in your head, but who knows? In any case, if somebody did say this to you, that they can't just believe you, my guess would be that what they were trying to say is they can't just flip a switch and start believing. Belief is not just a choice. Yeah, you can engage in these long processes to try to reshape your thinking to kind of manipulate yourself into belief over time, to frankly extremely mixed results, which is why you so often see people who are in a religion who want to keep believing in the religion but start to see the cracks be so unable to repair their belief and maintain it. Because it's not just a simple choice, and even if you engage in the choice to try to use different techniques to reinforce your belief, that doesn't mean it's going to work, no matter how desperate you are for it to work, even at the cost of the threat of infinite punishment. If you were terrified of going to hell, and you thought all you had to do was believe to not go there, you would probably just choose to believe and be done with it, if you could. And the fact that people find themselves unable to do that, even with those stakes, even with that much desperation, shows you just how wrong you are when you act like you can just choose to believe.
Even though I can go more to show you why, for instance, about the belief in the hereafter. For instance, believe in the hereafter. You don't know the future. So you cannot say it cannot happen.
Okay, what does that have to do with whether it does happen?
You can say I'm not sure. But the thing is that there are other reasons why people believe in the hereafter.
Other reasons other than what? You never said a reason.
If you put that into perspective, you can believe it. You can't believe it. Nothing is going to bite you.
Nothing's going to bite you? So what are we trying to say here? Like, you can believe it, don't worry about it, you won't get punished for it? Is that what the topic is? In which case, the way you've presented everything up till now has been very confusing. But yeah, look, if you do make yourself believe, for example, in Islamic heaven and hell, and that Muhammad is right and the Quran is his book and all of that, and then it turns out the Christians are right, yeah, something's gonna bite you. You talk about it like what you should be doing is just picking a belief some random person tells you and then running with that, making yourself believe that. As if no matter which belief it is, under no circumstances will it ever have any negative consequences if it turns out that it's not true. Don't worry, man, nothing will bite you. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not. Should I just choose to believe you're right for no reason?
Now, about the trying part. I think it's Blaise Pascal or someone that talked about something like this.
Yeah, what I was talking about a second ago sounded a little Pascal's wagery, didn't it? In the sense of worrying about the claimed consequences of your beliefs rather than about the truth of them. I don't see much point in that, because then you're just going to believe whoever threatens you the hardest. You might as well just stick with what seems to be actually true.
Why don't you do the acts of the believers?
Well, because I'm not a believer. Why don't you do the acts of me?
If you do the acts of the believers, suddenly you start to believe. At least a little more.
I strongly doubt that, but hey, listen, if you're ever in town or if I'm ever in your town, let's do it, buddy. We'll give it the old try. But no, I'm not just going to do random religious rituals for no reason. Do you know how many different religious people have told me to do how many different fucking rituals? Not even just religious people, like these weird self-help people and stuff too. Do this meditation, do this breathing exercise. Or like Terrence McKenna, take a heroic dose of mushrooms, see the machine elves. Look, I'm not a documentarian of religious experience. I'm not interested in experiencing every random bullshit indoctrination technique of every person on the planet. Look, can you just give me an argument? Instead of being like, look, I know I got nothing, but if you just close your eyes and kind of let yourself drift off into a dream state and try to focus on how my religion is definitely totally true, maybe eventually it'll start to kind of feel true a bit. Sure, maybe it would. Maybe for a little while I can suppress my intellect and enhance my inner fantasy life enough that I start to feel like, hey, this might actually have something to it. It certainly would not be something that suddenly happens, except to someone who's profoundly weak-minded. But yeah, if you took someone and intensely immersed them in rituals of your religion for like a couple months, yeah, maybe they would start to go, maybe, yeah, kind of feels like it could be true, And if you got rid of every claim of your religion, including the God part, and swapped all those claims out with other claims that you just made up, it would work just as well, however well that happens to be for the given person. This is not unique to God claims or anything else.
Like, let me tell you something. If you go and stay with even conspiracy theorist people, and you stay with them and you guys go around the place and you are doing things together, before you know it, you start to like have some kind of a little bit more. Like, they have a point there, that kind of thing.
Okay, I guess there was no point in me saying all that. Yet again, we're in agreement. Now, of course, I will say it really depends on the person, how affected they are by this stuff. Some people are far, far more susceptible to it than others. Either way, none of this is just choosing to believe. This is, again, you being convinced. Granted, probably for really stupid reasons, but even so. This is what I said has to happen. You can't just start believing. What you're talking about is called indoctrination. I'm aware that indoctrination exists. Why would a non-believer just decide to go get indoctrinated into some religion or conspiracy theory they don't already believe is true? And if you understand how indoctrination works, why are you acting like it's reasonable to believe something that you believe only because of indoctrination? Like you just said, you can take any random thing with a sufficiently well-designed set of rituals to suppress your reasoning ability, and if you're the right kind of person, you easily might start to believe over time that it's true. If this way of reaching a belief means that anything could be true, then it means it gives no particular reason to think any given thing is true. This is not the way to reach the actual truth with any sort of reliability.
That's how human beings are. We can believe literally anything.
Yes, you can become convinced to believe anything. I highly doubt that anyone ever said to you that people never believe stupid things or believe them for stupid reasons.
We can. So therefore, many people actually see religion as good.
You can be indoctrinated into pretty much any stupid thing. Therefore, people see religion as good. How does that follow? In any case, linking those two things seems to me to imply that religion is a system meant to circumvent reason and instill unjustified beliefs. It's anti-truth.
Many people do, okay?
Yeah, I know people think that, but why would you think it based on this?
They see the benefits of how it helps you deal with existential questions.
Oh, back to this again, eh? You're really in love with your little existential crisis, aren't you?
How it helps you deal with losing a family member, dealing with tragedy. Religion actually helps. The communitarian part of it, it helps.
Yeah, now you're just listing random things you think are beneficial in religion, which has nothing to do with anything up to this point. This is a very jarring transition.
And some people, the traditionalist atheists, even some of them, even though they are atheists, they still practice the religion. They practice the religion, go to the church, take their kids there.
Look, I've never gone to church. I wasn't raised religious. This has just never been a thing for me. I don't care about it. My family and I just do other things. But I understand that it's hard as an adult to just leave your entire social group. And if that's where your social group is meeting up to socialize, then I get it to an extent. I don't know if I would do that, but I can understand the difficulty of not even necessarily severing those ties, because depending on the church, those people might not just shun you if they find out you stopped believing, but the difficulty in letting those ties wither away because you're not where the people are. It's kind of hard to judge that very harshly.
Because they know the benefits in it. Okay.
The benefits, right? Other benefits too, such as dealing with grief. Yeah, I think if someone's an atheist and is taking their kid to church just to indoctrinate them into the religion so that they can deal with grief better, maybe, later, that's weird. That I have a much easier time judging. Someone who wasn't indoctrinated will deal with grief just fine. At least as fine as it can be done. Let it happen. Let people process their grief realistically.
So that's just one part. Belief is not the way people have made it look, as if it's something like certain, can never change. Absolutely.
Right, so you just basically grab the religion catalog and you browse through the list of religions and their features. You pick the one that has the features you like the best, and then you head off to the indoctrination center to get it jammed into your head. And then a couple months later, you're like, nah, I'm looking for something a little bit different now. Pick a different one and go get indoctrinated into that instead. What a weird-ass approach to life.
Most people are not being honest if they tell you that they're absolutely certain.
You could be right. I feel like this absolute certainty thing is a thing that religious people sometimes feel like they're supposed to say. People in the more intense, fundy versions of religion, anyway. Now, I think there are a lot of people out there who do have this feeling that they are absolutely certain that the thing is true, and they cannot possibly be wrong. I think that's a thing, and I don't think it's that uncommon. But on the other hand, I suspect there are a lot of people who, just to show how strong they are in their faith, and look good in front of their fellow religious people, or even just to look strong in front of people who are challenging their religion, they'll say they feel absolutely certain about it, even when they don't necessarily feel quite as certain as all that. You said most people are not being honest. I don't know if that's true, but some people anyway.
They can't even reach, you know what? Claim it. claim that you know.
I do that. I claim that I know a lot of things. I don't claim certainty. I claim what you said before, which is justified true belief. Am I certain that it's true? No, but that's not relevant.
You can claim knowledge, but it doesn't mean that you actually know.
You can claim that you know, but not actually know because it's not actually true. Or because you don't have any sort of justification for it, or even because you don't even believe it. Hey, good purchase, buddy. I know you're going to love this car.
Okay, this is a fact. People know this. And I talked about it in that last video. Knowledge, if you want to claim knowledge, it has to be something self-evident or 100%, no one can doubt it, is like absolutely clear.
No, it doesn't. What you're talking about here is not so much knowledge as infallibility on the topic. I congratulated you before because it seemed like you understood the distinction, but now it seems like you don't. So now I'm not sure what to think.
But some of these things about the believers is usually not that. Sometimes they are more sure than others and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree that's probably true of most people. Of course, whether they would admit that or not is a whole different thing, which goes back to what we were just talking about.
But anyway, I mean, you can believe, okay? You don't need to attain certainty to believe.
Yeah, I got it. And now we're back to the question of who have you been talking to? Who said this to you? Did anyone?
You just need to be convinced enough. Convinced enough. And that's it. That's your belief.
Yeah, it's weird how the whole way through the video we're basically saying the exact same things, and yet I get this impression that we deeply, deeply disagree about what they mean.
Whatever it is that you're convinced more about, or you can actually want to believe.
Yeah, you can want to believe, but that doesn't make you believe. As you said, you have to be convinced. Wanting it might lead you to go looking for something to convince you, but you're still going to have to find that thing.
And I think this is William James talks about the will to believe. So if you have that will to believe, go for it.
Yeah, go for it. If you really want to believe, go look for that thing that will convince you to believe. I mean, to me, it's a completely alien way of acting. It's incredibly bizarre, but I know people do it. And I know that sometimes it works. I also know that sometimes it doesn't. It's not nearly as simple as you try to make it out to be.
And funny enough, it's exactly in response to another atheist. I think his name is Clifford.
Oh, so you are actually responding to a specific person. All right, I've been wondering that this whole time, so I'm glad you brought this up. You're responding to the guy that William James responded to. William Kingdon Clifford.
Clifford, that guy was talking about that it is evil to believe.
No, Clifford's argument was not that it's evil to believe. What he said, and I quote from the Ethics of Belief from 1877, "We may believe what goes beyond our experience only when it is inferred from that experience by the assumption that what we do not know is like what we know. We may believe the statement of another person when there is reasonable ground for supposing that he knows the matter of which he speaks, and that he is speaking the truth so far as he knows it. It is wrong in all cases to believe on insufficient evidence, and where it is presumption to doubt and to investigate, there it is worse than presumption to believe." He's not saying it's bad to believe, full stop. He's saying it's bad to believe for no good reason. And then William James came out with the will to believe to try to rebut this.
Clifford was talking about that it is evil to believe without certainty. That if you're not certain about something, it's evil for you to believe in it.
No, he said it was wrong to believe without reason. Certainty has nothing to do with it. This is shown by the very first thing in the essay, of a man who owns a ship that people had raised doubts about, saying that maybe it's not actually a seaworthy ship, but he ignores everything these people are bringing up and finds some way to convince himself that the ship is safe, including trusting in Providence, in God's help, and as a result, everybody dies. And Clifford says, quote, that he was verily guilty of the death of those men. It is admitted that he did sincerely believe in the soundness of his ship, but the sincerity of his conviction can in no wise help him because he had no right to believe on such evidence as was before him. He had acquired his belief not by honestly earning it in patient investigation, but by stifling his doubts. And although in the end he may have felt so sure about it that he could not think otherwise, yet inasmuch as he had knowingly and willingly worked himself into that frame of mind, he must be held responsible for it. This is not Clifford saying that it's wrong to believe without certainty. It's Clifford saying that even if you have certainty, it's still wrong to believe if you have no good reason for that belief. It doesn't matter how strongly you feel you're right. The whole way through this video, I thought you understood what we were talking about, and now that's starting to really break down.
That's an atheist guy. Hardcore.
I'll leave it up to Clifford in the grave to identify himself as an atheist if he wants. But what's the point in saying this? An atheist guy said a thing. Yeah, lots of guys say lots of things, so what? What's that got to do with anyone other than him?
But William James came back and said, no, if you have the will to believe, you can.
Yeah, a whole lot of excuse making, in my opinion.
That's something similar to what I'm trying to say here.
Is it, though? Because what you seem to be arguing here is that it's possible to make yourself believe. What James was arguing was the counterpoint to what Clifford was arguing. Clifford argued that you should not believe things without sufficient evidence, and James argued that sometimes it's okay. I don't think either of them was arguing about whether you in fact can, whether you are capable of doing so. They were talking about whether you're justified in doing so. That's a very different topic from everything we've covered so far.
But my own point is that when I realized that what people call belief or the believers is actually not absolute certainty, it's actually people accepting a proposition, believing that that proposition is true.
Okay, but it can just be both. Someone can both accept the proposition as true and feel a sense of certainty that it in fact is. And I think that's true in a lot of cases, although of course not all.
Many historical things, you can have beliefs about them. It doesn't mean you're absolutely certain or you can prove it, but you can believe it. And that's the point. You can believe it.
Yes, you can. You are capable of becoming convinced that it's true, yes. Why did you bring up Clifford and James? Neither of them disputes this, nor do I. Of course you can believe without feeling certain. So at this point, it seems like you're presenting this as a response to William Kingdon Clifford, who never said anything like what you seem to be responding to. You're either responding to a total straw man or a total misunderstanding. And you're directing this response to a 150-year-old essay to modern atheists in general, as if we don't already know that we don't have to feel certain in our beliefs. You realize that we're the ones who tend to point this out. The religious people are the ones who argue for absolute certainty. Usually.
So anyway, you guys, what do you think about this argument? The next time someone tells you that they cannot believe because they are not absolutely certain, you can show them this.
So the next time I hear this thing from an atheist that I've never ever heard from an atheist ever in my entire life, I can show them this video that responds to a thing a guy never said 150 years ago. I'll make sure to keep that in mind.
You can show them that. Are you convinced enough? You might not be convinced. And if you still want that proposition to be true, you can assent to believe. And you can actually, practice it. You can practice the acts of the believers.
Okay, I'm getting the impression that now you're just repeating yourself, and that background mumbling is incredibly obnoxious, so I'm just going to look ahead, see if there's anything else that's worth responding to, and if not, I'm just going to end it here. Alright, I'm back. Yeah, it's pretty much just more of the same thing till the end. Alright, well that was kind of weird, but interesting, I guess. Thank you all for watching. If you would, before you go, please do give the video a like and click subscribe if you haven't. And if you like the channel, maybe consider supporting. A couple of bucks per video or per month is enormously helpful, and huge thanks to all of my supporters who've already made that choice. Early access, email list, list.logicked.com, and I'll see you next time.